During the past day, Russian forces tried to regain lost positions in the area of Staromaiorske in Donetsk Oblast, but without any success. In total, 28 combat clashes took place at the front. Source: General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on Facebook. Information is of 6 o'clock on the 27th of July. Details: over the past 24 hours, Russian forces launched 49 missile and 37 airstrikes, and fired from multiple launch rocket systems on the positions of our troops and settlements 63 times, causing casualties among the civilians and destroying residential buildings. During the past day, 28 combat clashes took place. On the Severshina and Slobozhanshina fronts, Russian forces kept their military presence. They fired from mortars and artillery on over 25 settlements, including Studenetska, Semenivka, Yuzhna Polyana in Chernihiv Oblast, Vilna Sloboda, Popivka, Stepny, Basivka, Moritsia, Pokrovka in Sumy Oblast, in Veterinarn, Okrymivka, Streleka, Libok, Kolodyazne in Kharkiv Oblast. On the Kupiansk front, Russian forces conducted unsuccessful offensive actions south of Novoselivsky in Luhansk Oblast. Vorokna, Zapadna, Fyholivka, Tibavka, Topoly and Podoli in Kharkiv Oblast came under Russian artillery and mortar attacks. On the Lyman front, the Russian forces conducted unsuccessful offensive operations south of Dubrova in Luhansk Oblast. The settlements of Nevsky and Bilohorivka in Luhansk Oblast and Torsky, Verkhnekamiansk, Spern and Rozdalivka in Donetsk Oblast were hit by artillery fire. On the Bakhmut front, Ukraine's defense forces repelled Russian assaults on areas to the north of Kromu, east of Druzhba, and north of Klishivka. Russian forces launched an airstrike near Klishivka in Donetsk Oblast. Over 15 settlements, including Vashukivka, Orikovo-Vasilivka, Ivanovsky, Bodanivka, Chasev Yar and Pivnikny in Donetsk Oblast, were affected by Russian artillery shelling. On the Avdiivka front, while under heavy fire of Russian aircraft and artillery, Ukrainian forces successfully repelled the attacks of Russian troops in the vicinity of Avdiivka. At the same time, Russian forces shelled over 10 settlements, including Novokulino, Stepo, Avdiivka, Pervomaisk and Severn in Donetsk Oblast. On the Marinka front, Ukraine's defense forces are continuing to repel Russian attempts to advance near Marinka. Russian forces launched an airstrike near Krasnohorivka. The settlements of Kurakivka, Krasnohorivka, Hiorhivka, Marinka and Pobeda in Donetsk Oblast were hit by artillery fire. On the Shakhtarsk front, Russian forces made unsuccessful attempts to regain lost positions in the area of Staromaiorske in Donetsk Oblast. They carried out airstrikes in the vicinity of Rivnopil, Blahodatna and Staromaiorske. They fired on over 15 settlements, including Vuhledar, Prekostivka, Zolotaniva, Vlika Novosilka, Starozhev and Blahodatna in Donetsk Oblast. Russian forces on the Zaporizhia and Kherson fronts are focusing their efforts on preventing Ukrainian forces from advancing further. Russian invaders carried out airstrikes in the areas of Novodanilivka, Malotokmichka, Orikhiv, Piaty Kotki in Zaporizhia Oblast and Antonivka in Kherson Oblast. Over 35 settlements, including Malinivka, Huliaipol, Stepov, Lobkov, Lavadna and Kamiansk in Zaporizhia Oblast, Nikopol in Dnepropetrovsk Oblast, Dubchiny, Berislav, Kozatsky, Molodizhny, Antonivka, Komyshiny, Kizimys, Stanislav in Kherson Oblast, and Ivanivka in Mykolaiv Oblast were hit by artillery fire. Meanwhile, Ukraine's defense forces continued to conduct offensive operations on the Melitopol and Berdyansk fronts, where they are consolidating the positions they had previously captured and inflicting fire damage. Over the past day, Ukrainian aircraft carried out 11 strikes on areas where Russian military manpower, weapons and equipment were concentrated, and 2 more on its anti-aircraft missile systems. Units of Ukraine's rocket forces and artillery struck 11 field artillery systems, 2 command posts, an ammunition storage point, a cluster of Russian military manpower, weapons and equipment, and 3 more important targets belonging to the Russian occupiers. Military reports liberation of Staromaiorske in Donetsk Oblast. Ukrainian forces liberated the southeastern village of Staromaiorske in Donetsk Oblast, soldiers announced in a video published by President Volodymyr Zelensky on Telegram. The 35th Brigade and the Ere Territorial Defense Unit have fulfilled their task and liberated the village of Staromaiorske. "Glory to Ukraine," said a soldier in the video. Ukrainian troops earlier reported successful advances near Staromaiorske on July 26. The village is located near a group of settlements in Donetsk Oblast that Ukraine liberated in early June at the beginning of its counteroffensive. On July 25, the General Staff of Ukraine's Armed Forces spokesperson Andriy Kovalov also said that Ukraine had driven out Russian forces from their position near the village. According to the General Staff, Ukrainian forces also continued to advance around Bakhmut, Melitopol, and Berdyansk. The military entered the village of Andriivka south of Bakhmut on July 25, following a Russian retreat. On July 24, Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar said that Ukraine had made steady advances along Bakhmut's southern flank over the past week, liberating 4 square kilometers. Putin admits Kyiv's attacks have intensified significantly. Russian President Vladimir Putin has admitted that Ukrainian attacks have intensified in recent days. Attacks by Ukrainian forces have intensified significantly on the front line, primarily through Ukraine's Zaporizhia region, Putin said speaking on Russian TV. The Russian president claimed that Ukraine had not enjoyed success on the front lines, despite Russian troops being pushed back around Bakhmut in recent days. Battles in recent weeks have taken place on multiple points along the 1,500-kilometer front line as Ukraine wages a counteroffensive with Western-supplied weapons and Western-trained troops against Russian forces who invaded 17 months ago. Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar said Ukrainian troops are advancing toward the city of Melitopol in the Zaporizhia region. Ukraine has committed thousands of troops in the region in recent days, according to a Western official. Meanwhile, the Institute of Study of War reported that Ukrainian forces launched a significant mechanized counteroffensive operation in western Zaporizhia region on Wednesday and appear to have broken through certain pre-prepared Russian defensive positions. The General Staff of Ukraine's Armed Forces reported on July 27 that Russia has lost 244,270 troops in Ukraine since February 24 last year. This number includes 590 casualties suffered by Russian forces over the past day,